your final characterization of the fish farmer who could farm more fish if he turned off the filter, but you are rewarded financially based off the quality of the commons as well as the quantity of fish you farm, so it's not all that appealing. Here's the interesting bit. Again, a shift in our incentive structures. Whether you're looking at Winco, which is an employee-owned company, where also the employees now actually have stake in the success of the company, or recognizing that I think it's Bhutan, it's some country that started to actually apply metrics to gross domestic happiness instead of gross domestic product. It's about what we're measuring. We're measuring the wrong things. I think there can be some metrics that are not absolute objective metrics, but it at least gives us some frame of reference to start following of the quality of life in our community, that might ultimately be important to us to some extent, right? And so if you can have metrics to it and operate kind of like an employee-owned company like Winco, where really intrinsically speaking, however you characterize it, whatever language you use, you are an emergent property of the whole. We all are a shareholder in this. In that situation, a fish farmer with those dynamics involves shifts to the incentive structures, whether it be the political economies or business economics, what they're operating in. If they understand that and have some vested interest, either as some monetary incentive, whether connected to the well-being of the whole in some way, whether it's operating what Bhutan has been operating with, prioritizing gross domestic happiness, then it's like, yeah, I'm going to keep the filter on because I don't want to take a risk of hurting everyone else, which will eventually hurt me. That's short-term thinking, and I see the value in long-term thinking, actually, because, yeah, I might prioritize my profit in the next quarter, highest profits in the next quarter, great, at the expense of the next 5 years. And so, again, it speaks for itself. I mean, is anybody going to think that in a war, someone that wins the battle at the expense of the war is smart? Of course they're not. Or a basketball player that gets a basket at the expense of the game because it was negligent, they got 2 points at the expense of giving up 10 points. It's dumb. Okay? And so I think we need to recognize that and point that out using their own language, that Infinite Game makes more sense. And so, again, using their language. In fact, Infinite Game's a great, probably accessible, receivable language as opposed to Ubuntu or felt connectivity with a whole or an emergent property. It's all about just trying to teeter the scales and vector people towards a longer term calculus, hopefully an infinite game calculus, because it makes sense on its own merits as long as we can steward it appropriately to them and in a way that's appropriate to them. So anyway,